Hi there, I'm Sipka, and this is the Apatros review. Now this is part 3 of the D Spectrum 13. Now the D Spectrum is a special I do every 25 episodes, where basically I recount all the crappy films I reviewed over the previous 25 episodes. Now in order to qualify for the D Spectrum, the works I review have to fall into either one of 3 rating categories, the bottom 3. Either a D+, which is a 3 out of 10, meaning something that's disappointingly mediocre, a D, which is a 2 out of 10, meaning it's bad, and the dreaded D-, which is a 1 out of 10, reserved for the worst of the worst. Now, let's start. COVID-21 Lethal Virus, known in Australia as Contamination Virus 21, directed by Daniel Hernandez Torrado in the year 2021. This one I gave a D, so it's bad. The film I tried to sit through twice, but could not keep my interest throughout the entire film. Both times I had to watch YouTube videos to keep going. Now look, I'm one of the most patient people out there. I've sat through some of the worst genre films ever made, including 8 of Uli Lamel's post-millennial ultra-cheap art house horror flicks. I've already reviewed 7 of those. The 8th one will come soon. By the way, I've recently acquired a 9th Lamel flick, purely by chance, which will become a new candidate for art house atrocities. I'm going to be doing a number of horror films after this one. But this prime candidate for the award of the best zombie version of The English Patient, which by the way was one of the most boring romantic dramas ever made, has to be this 2021 released pandemic-era Spanish horror flick, where a female scientist with a secret to hide is being escorted along the zombie-infested Spanish countryside by a grizzled loner. This is an extremely boring movie, and while there are some people out there who can sit through this, I'm not one of them. But in saying that, I will say this. Most of the film is completely superfluous. Basically, a pair of uninteresting people walking through the Spanish zombie-infested countryside, dodging a hungry zombie or two along the way. The only parts to take note to is the first 15 minutes and the last. Not a terrible movie, technically just flatly boring. Okay, Piranha. No, not the Joe Dante classic. I'll review that sometime in the future. Now this is a 1972 drama thriller directed by William Gibson. I give this one a D-. A photographer who has an irrational distaste of guns takes along her alcoholic brother, who had just had a one-night stand, and a paid guide who ultimately proves his worth to Venezuela to shoot nature pics. But the trio find themselves caught up in the targets of a nasty local hunter with a sadistic mean streak. An even worse movie than the previous one I mentioned, and this is very flat and dully directed, but at least I could say one positive thing: the scenery is nice. Funeral for an Assassin, directed by Ivan Hall, year 1974. I give this one a D. A prime example of those bloody South Africans domestic product during the dark days of the apartheid era, the schizophrenically plotted political thriller, co-funded by the Americans, by the way, features Rick Morrow as a South African expat assassin who returns to the land of those bloody South Africans to get revenge for serving a prison term at their behest but wiping out the white minority government. Seriously strangely dumb film, but does have some what the fuck value for its handling. Now, Agents Do Not Know Tears, also known as the Uranium Conspiracy. I gave this one a D+. It was directed by Gianfranco Bardinello and Menahem Golan. Yes, Menahem Golan, one of the two guys that formed Canon Films. This film came out in 1978. Now, Mossad, the Israeli Secret Service, receives word that a large shipment of yellow cake uranium, a loose-fill version of uranium that's principally used as chemical fertilizer, but can be used for military-grade nuclear bombs as well, has been bought by a mysterious client who purchased the stock for double the price. Dan, a Mossad agent, and his Italian mercenary buddy Renzo are handpicked to investigate the sale and to ascertain the intended destination of the shipment, which is being sent by sea and is large enough to provide fuel for at least 24 nukes. Ugh. Heading to Germany, they trace the shipment to a German businessman called the Baron, who might be part of a secret terrorist cell working for a Middle East state. I said might. With Renzo seducing the Baron's secretary Helga and Dan heading Commando Squad to sabotage a freighter that is holding the shipment, the potential threat is soon foiled. You have to realize that during the 1970s, espionage thrillers were literally a dime a dozen, made all over the world, which this film was reasonable stuff at the time, but these days, unless you're an Israeli or a fan of this kind of second-rate spy thriller, this film's pretty much a miss. And now for the last one, My Boys Are Good Boys, directed by Bethel Buckaloo in the year 1977. Gave this one a D+. Bethel Buckaloo was a director whose bread and butter works of all cheap skin flicks, and with titles like Midnight Plowboy, The Pig Keeper's Daughter, and The Dirty Mind of Young Sally. In the late 1970s, he suddenly got the rather cynical idea of making a family-friendly film. Taking a script that was already a decade and a half old, so old in fact that the original writer was dead for quite some time before the script was adapted, and changing part of it for 1970s standards, but not quite good enough, and filming it as My Boys Are Good Boys. The result is rather ghastly, although it does have some unintentional humor value for the hardcore bad movie masochists out there. A gang of juvenile delinquents plot to break out of their facility to teach their gang leader's father a lesson for sending him there by robbing his armored van during a money run, using cheap masks, a mysteriously endless supply of knockout gas, a shitload of luck, and a smoke grenade. Some good acting here from the golden oldies in the cast, particularly from Lloyd Nolan, but the film is just marinated in stupid sauce. Okay, so that's it for this generation of the D spectrum. Let's see this return another 25 reviews. Now, I did not do requests, but if you have any questions about films or DVDs in general, just hit me up in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer. Hope you guys are staying safe, take it easy, and that's it for this one. See ya.